Very welcome to you, David, and thanks for joining us in Spain today. Now, a lot of expats have been looking forward to this interview, and thank you for taking the time to speak to us. David, listen, let's get down to business. We've got a potential 500,000 expats listening to us right now as voters, so we want to get into this now and get it going. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, it's great to be talking to you. It's an important vote, the expat vote. We've got a website called www.don'tleaveyourvoteathome.com, so do log on and see what you can do to make sure you have your vote.
We will make the difference, I promise you that. Now, I want to put some questions to you, if that's okay. I was watching an interview with the other night where Gordon Brown said of you, you're a bit of a salesman. And you answered, this country, with all our difficulties, we need some salesmanship. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I meant is we need someone who's going to lead this country and get out and actually help sell British business and British services and British products around the world. I want to get out there to China and to India and to the markets of the future, because I think Gordon Brown's vision is too much of borrowing money from China in order to buy cheap Chinese goods. My vision is these countries are growing. We should be making things in Britain and producing services in Britain to get out and sell them to give us a more prosperous future.
Well, one of the paramount questions people are asking, knowing about this interview to us here, is that you have been accused that you're a bit posh for the job. Could you relate to the working class as they ask, are the ordinary man on the street, can you relate to them?
Yes, I can. I mean, I always believe it. What really matters is not where you've come from or what school you went to. And I've never hidden the fact that I've had a very fortunate and good upbringing. I went to an amazing school. The real question is not where you went to school or where you're from, but, what can you do? What are your ideas? How do you relate to people? Can you understand them? And can you do things to improve their lives? That's what really, I think, matters. And I think where you actually come from is not really the key thing.
Well, I mean, it's your education. I'm an old prep school boy. And of course, what we should be really interested in the next Prime Minister of Great Britain is how well educated he is. And that's the interesting thing, not what his background is, I would assume, anyway.
Well, I think it's important that we have good schools for all our children. And I've got two little ones who are going through the state sector at the moment. And as a parent and as a politician, I want to make sure we've got really good schools in the state sector. Too many parts of our country, actually, people don't get the first choice of school. They feel there aren't good enough state schools for them. And I want us to sort that out. First up is discipline in the schools, to make sure we actually have well-ordered classrooms, we teach using the traditional methods, and we actually allow new schools to open up in the state sector so people get a better choice.
Now, we've had hundreds of emails, you can imagine. We're only going to do two, so you have to apologise to our listeners. We're going to get to that in a moment. But you seem to have had an effortless rise to the top job, David, which has led to criticisms that you're not really ready, haven't had enough experience in this. Now, something you even asked yourself, why did you change your mind?
Well, I don't see I have had an effortless rise to the top. I had to fight for the leadership of the Conservative Party. I defeated the sort of favourite candidates, as it were. And and getting to the top of the Conservative Party, I haven't just sat on my backside. I've actually dragged the party into the modern world. We've got more women candidates, more candidates from ethnic minorities. We've championed some of the new issues, like the environmental issues. I've made the Conservatives the party of the NHS. We've done some exciting things in the Conservative Party, and some of it's been hard work. It's been big changes, but I think the party is now really in touch with the country that we want to govern. That hasn't been effortless. It hasn't been easy, but it's been the right thing to do.
So let's get people to vote for you. Shall we do that right now? Can you give me 3 concise policies which clearly define you from the Labour and the Lib Dems?
Yes, I think the first thing is let's stop making things worse for ordinary hard-working people. So we say let's freeze the council tax for 2 years. That, I think, would really help people. That would be the first thing I'd say. Second thing is we've got to get to grips with the dreadful budget deficit in Britain and the appalling state of our nation's finances. And that does mean actually making a start in 2010 and cutting out some of the waste and bureaucracy and the ID cards and all the rest of it so that we get the deficit under control, get the economy growing again. I think that would help. The third thing is what I call the broken society. I think we all know we've got big problems of violent crime and teenage pregnancy and family breakdown and all the rest of it. Brexit. Let's have a more pro-family policy. I want Britain to be the most family-friendly country in Europe. So let's recognise marriage in the tax system, help couples in the benefit system, and give everyone the right who's got children to right to request flexibility at work. There's some policies that would make a big difference. They're not all backed by Labour, and I think they'd make our country stronger.
You mentioned Broken Britain, and often calls to us here about Broken Britain. I got an email in. I've really cut this email to bits because we know you have a short time. It's from Brian Deller. He said, "Dear Mr. Cameron, with the unbridled and uncontrolled immigration in recent years, would you agree this is one reason the British National Party is now becoming much more favoured?"
Well, I think the British National Party is a dreadful party. They're
we
not
all agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, I do think we have a problem with the level of immigration in the UK. I think it should be more controlled. I'd like to see it reduced. And we've said that net immigration into the UK each year should be in the tens of thousands, not in the hundreds of thousands as it is now. And we've said we need a limit on economic migration. We need to say to any new countries that join the European Union, you can't, there should be transitional controls. You can't all come and live in the UK at once. And we do need to change some of the other rules about, for instance, family reunion and the rest of it. So we will do that. We will have controlled immigration, but we'll do it in a sensible and reasonable way.
You know, I had one of the Secret Millionaires, you know, this program on television the other day. He's originally Iranian born. And one of the things he said, I thought was quite interesting, is that what happens when asylum seekers come in or immigrants come in, they are in the UK, he feels, a bit too long before decisions are made, and then makes it that much more difficult to send them back.
That's absolutely right. One of the problems we have is because the system is overburdened, because it's bureaucratic, because it's slow. By the time we get round to saying to an asylum seeker, actually, I'm afraid your case isn't a genuine one, they've already put down roots. They've already got connections with local communities, and it becomes very, very tough to do that. So you're right. A faster system would actually be a more compassionate system.
Right. Top question, okay, most commonly asked. This comes in from one of our listeners. Dear Mr. Cameron, the question I would like to ask you is, as you know, a lot of pensioners are living here in Spain for our health. I would like to ask if your party will remove all restrictions on health benefits that we would be entitled to if we stayed in UK, as we have all paid into the system all our lives. I think this would only be fair. And that's from Brian and Judith.
Well, I do understand there is a problem with people living in Spain now who are facing quite high charges from the Spanish healthcare system. I don't have an instant solution to this, but what I would say is we do need to have fair reciprocal arrangements. So if we are giving free healthcare to others who come and live in our country, if there's a reciprocal arrangement, they should have the same sort of rights in other countries. I think that's the right approach, and that's the approach that we would try and take.
Ian Edwards wrote, if elected, will you rein in the monster created by the Human Rights Act?
Yes, we want to scrap the Human Rights Act and replace it with a British Bill of Rights and Responsibilities that we'd write in the UK. I think we could restore some common sense to our legal system if we did that and get rid of the worst nonsenses of the Human Rights Act.